see here on this slide. And I also will mention the chance to support the Empower Girls with Education. You can use this QR code, scan it, and then be part of this program. And with this two intro slides, again, to me as the speaker for this session, my name is Nicki Borell. I'm a consultant from Germany. I'm one of the founders of Experts Insight and in the Microsoft MVP and Regional Director programs. And with this, let's start with the session for today. It's about the topic auto-labeling and the different ways to set it up, to work with it, and also a little bit about the differences between the features in detail for the different ways to set it up, and also from a licensing perspective. So as you can see here, this is our agenda. We'll really start from the scratch about labeling and how can it be done, and then with the topic auto labeling in Office applications, the capabilities we have with automatic apply labels in SharePoint document libraries. And of course, we have auto labeling feature as part of Microsoft Purview. And there is also a next version using Defender for Cloud Apps, which can be used as part of policies to apply labels automatically to files in a specific topic. Of course, we have the chance to do this programmatically or using, for example, PowerShell, which gives us an interesting workaround or let's say evil hack to apply something which is similar to auto labeling and, for example, supports files which are normally not supported, for example, video files or other unsupported file types. And the last topic I will just show you and talk about is the capabilities we have in the context of auto labeling using the information protection scanner. And with this, so actually a little bit another topic in the modern IT world is what we all know under the topic ChatGPT. So you can ask in natural language an AI, and the AI generates an answer. And so this morning I just asked AI about auto labeling, and I found the answer that is generated by Bing. So the Bing chat capability powered by AI. Is really useful. It is on the point what auto labeling is about and how it can be used, and even the chance to get more details. I want to show this with you because I really think this is the next way of working when you are interested in a specific topic and want to get an overview about it, asking AI and just consume what the AI gives you as an overview. But this is a little bit off topic. Let's start with the session and the agenda points of this session. So auto labeling aggregated by me, not by the AI. What does it mean? What are the capabilities? So first of all, the screenshot shows you how manual labeling works. And I will show you also this in my first demo to really start from the scratch. And applying a label manually, even from an end user perspective, is something that works, yes, definitely, but it's an additional effort for the person who is just responsible or is the author of a document or the reviewer of the document. You need to select the label based on what you know or what do you think which is the right label for the document, and you have to apply it. And if you don't do it, there is no label applied. So think about scenarios where you say from a management perspective, this is really sensitive content, and we definitely have to be aware that this is not shared with other persons or outside the company. And then maybe saying that an author of a document or a reviewer of a document should please apply the label manually is not 100% a guarantee. And with this, auto labeling is something that is getting really, really interesting. As you can see here in the bullet points on the left side, auto labeling is just an E5 feature, or you need an add-on because of the E3 license only included the manual labeling capability you saw here on the screenshot. And yes, let's start with this simple first demo to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. I'm just switching over here to my environment and start with a simple blank Word document, as you can see here. And think about I'm just putting some text now here in the document, or let's say something which is really common and not a secret for my company, whatever. I'm just using for this lorem ipsum and paste in a text here. So, and now I can say, okay, this text is sensitive from my perspective. Go to the sensitivity labels and select whatever, a test label, or let's say there's a credit card number included, and then I can label it manually. This is how it works. And if I don't do this and save the document as it is, there is no protection, no labeling, or even no encryption applied. With this first high-level demo, let's switch back to the slides and start the just showing about what can auto-labeling do for us. So the first step is auto-labeling in Office. My first example was with a Word file, so Office document. And auto-labeling in Office gives us a chance or can be configured in the setup of the label. As what you can see here in the screenshot is something that can be used during the process or the setup of a label. I will show you also this in the next demo. And there is just a point during this setup where we can configure if this label, for example, credit card number or company secret, however you named it, should be applied automatically within Office applications, which means Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. And if we say, yes, we want to use this capability, we have to set up what are the conditions. So what should be in the content of the document or the email that triggers that the label is automatically applied to this document. And as you can see, as the last bullet point, if you want to use this feature, you definitely need an E5 license or add-on. So, for example, the Microsoft 365 E5 Security and Compliance add-on, which can be used as an add-on to an M365 E3 license, needs to be available in your environment for each user who wants to use this capability, so this auto-labeling feature. I show you the screenshot and then I show you the demo. So you can see I'm still in Word and just having a document. And in this document, you can see this number 4242 and so on and so on. And I think everyone who sees this is absolutely clear that this is not a real life credit card number. But at the end, it matches the regular expression to describe a credit card number. And this is why automatically by the system, a credit card number is detected. And as you can see here in the recommendation pop-up that is shown, that the system says in my scenario, credit card number is detected and please apply a label. With this example, you can see that there are different enforcement steps or different levels. So here the user is just getting the information and the pop-up says, please apply a label. So it's in the user's decision to do it or to do it not. We can even configure it more strange, which means if the label, if the credit card number is detected, a label is automatically applied, and the user cannot say no, I want it, or I don't want it. So this is just a little bit more smooth version, which says I've detected something, please apply a label. But if the user don't do it, then no label is applied. Let's switch to the demo, and I will show you first how is the end user perspective, what you saw on the screenshot already, and then we will also have a look at how is this configured and set up in the Purview admin center. So first of all, I go back to the Word document we already had for the first demo, and as you can see, there's still my lorem ipsum text. And then I will just paste in this Word document the credit card number, you can see here. And you see nothing happened. But when I now click the Save button, then I need to say where to save, okay. And then I get this, this tooltip which says there's a credit card number detected, please apply a label. And also you can see here, I can use this button and then get the information where the credit card number is detected. Think about you have a document with 200, 300 pages. this is a really easy way to see, okay, where's this information detected? Maybe even to verify and say, oh no, this is not really a credit card number. And because of this, you say, I don't apply a label because of it's not really a credit card number. So this is how it works from an end user perspective. And now let's switch over to the admin center and see how this is set up in the backend system. To do this, you need to use the Microsoft Purview Center in Microsoft 365. I already opened this here in my demo environment. And as you can see in the navigation on the left side, the information protection section. And with this, we have the labels. And you can see here the credit card number label, which is detected in the demo from the end user perspective. And when I click on this, I get the details about the label setup. And I can go into the edit mode. And then just click next through all the setup points here to show you the necessary or the interesting topic. It's this one. So auto labeling for files and emails. And with this, I've configured auto labeling. And I said, OK, the parameter is if you detect or if you have content that contains a credit card number, then auto labeling should be applied. As you can see here, I can add other parameters. So for example, I can say another sensitive information type, or I can also use drainable classifiers in this context to detect automatically if sensitive content is part of a document. So let's say, okay, I want to say another sensitive information type is needed. And then I get the list of sensitive information types, which are part of the Purview Admin Center. And I say, okay, in addition to the credit card number, for example, I need also, let's say, something like a little bit untypical stuff. Let's say Australian driver's license number and the credit card number needs to be part of the document. And even if those both are detected, then a label should automatically be applied. So you can set up really specific scenarios with this capability. But this is only valid for auto labeling in files on Office files, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and emails. And because of this is definitely a limiting scenario, let's see what additional capabilities we have. I switch back to the slides. Okay. So another capability and even definitely another scenario from a business process or from an end user perspective is the default label capability for a SharePoint online document library. And this feature is a feature which we have since, I think, last year, and gives us a chance to configure for a SharePoint document library a specific so-called default label, which means if you have more than one library in your SharePoint site, you can use for every library another label. It gives you a little bit of flexibility about which content is stored in which library and even which label should be applied on the focus of this library. As you can see, there are some details about this feature. Even a really interesting question I know from several projects with customers is, what if a label is already applied to a document and you just upload it to a document library where also a label is configured? What happened? I will have on the next slide a little bit of more detailed perspective on the scenarios and what the result is if you have this scenario. Even also interesting how it works. As you can see, there's a little bit depends about do you upload an existing document or do you start with a document in the library, clicking on the new button and start a new blank Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever document. And also for this feature, you need an E5 license for every person who have access to this SharePoint site where you use auto label for a document library. Let's go to the next slide, and then we have a demo also about this. So the next slide is about these existing label overriding scenarios. As you can see here, it depends on the scenario. If there's a label manually applied to a document, with any priority, the label isn't overwritten if you upload it to a SharePoint document library, which get a label configured. And also the other scenarios within detail, the key point here is you can just a little bit trigger this based on the priority, even of the policy or even of the label. So you see here is in this scenario, automatically applied label with a higher priority. So if the label, you can see it here in this screenshot, got a higher priority as the existing label, it's been replaced or not. And the same scenario, if the policy got a higher priority than a policy from another storage location, maybe another SharePoint document library or another team or whatever. So depending on this, the question, is it overwritten, yes or no? There is no simple yes or no. It depends on the scenarios as described on this slide. And with this, let's go to the next demo. So the next demo is about auto-labeling based on SharePoint document library. I'm switching over again to my demo environment. Here we are. And I'm here in SharePoint site on my environment. And as you can see here, when I just go to the details of this document library, so the library settings, for this library, there is a default sensitivity label configured. It's one of my test labels. If I click on the dropdown, you see all the other labels I got here in my demo tenant. And for this library, I configured the test label. As you can see, there's a general folder, which means this document library is just, or this SharePoint site is part of a Microsoft team. And when I click on the general folder, you can see there's still some documents in, but there are no labels applied to these documents, which means I've configured the default label after the document, after the documents were uploaded. So the documents are in, and then I configure it, nothing happened. If I want to apply this label to the already existing documents, I need to open it and save it again, and then the label is applied. Or let's see the other way. I go back here into the root and say, I create a new, for example, Word document, post in some random text, whatever, and then I close the document again, hit the refresh button, and then you can see my document. And this document, which is naturally created in this library where the default label is configured, now gets the default test label for the SharePoint document library automatically. And again, this means that every person who gets access to this document library needs the A5 license, even if this person didn't create documents there, but he benefits from the auto-labeling feature. And this is why he needs to be licensed from a licensing perspective. Not from a technical perspective. The feature even works if only one person got the license, but from a licensing perspective, everyone needs it to have access to this document library. Okay, with this, let's switch back to the slides. Okay, the next feature I want to show you is the auto-labeling feature we have in Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, now also known under Purview Center. And there is just an auto-labeling feature in the information protection section of Purview. You can see it here on the screenshot. And to have this feature or this navigation topic here available, this one, you need at least one E5 license or one license with a security and compliance add-on, and then it's visible for all the administrators in the Purview Admin Center. And again, from a technical perspective, one license is enough to configure auto-labeling, and it works. Labels are applied. From a licensing perspective, this is not a valid setup. So this is normally something you say, okay, every document which is uploaded, let's say to a team or to a SharePoint site or even to a OneDrive, should automatically get a label. Even this also works for Exchange mailboxes. So you can say every email that is just sent to a specific mailbox or sent from a specific mailbox should automatically applied with a label. And then this auto labeling capability works brilliant for you. So you can see definitely you need to figure out what are the business scenarios, and then you can decide which feature is best to fulfill this scenario. With this capability, we see it on the next slide, we have the chance to cover Exchange, SharePoint, or even OneDrive. If you have a scenario where the file is even stored on, let's say, a file share or whatever, we will talk about this in a couple of minutes in the next slides. But for this, auto-labeling capability in Microsoft Purview Center gives us the chance to set up auto-labeling policies focusing Exchange, SharePoint, or OneDrive. I show you this in the next demo, even from the setup perspective and also from a review perspective, because of one of the really, really interesting features we have with the auto labeling in Purview Center is we have a preview feature. And this can be really, really useful to get an overview what really applies when you just activate a policy before you just apply something that maybe a user is just or preventing a user from his productive work. To don't have this scenarios, we have the preview capability. But first of all, let's start with creating a new auto labeling policy. You can see here I'm again in Purview Center in the topic information protection, and there we have the auto labeling feature. So creating an auto labeling policy starts with this. We have some templates, or we can say, okay, we start from the scratch with a custom template, which means it's blank. I click next. I have to give it a name. I call it demo 2. And then we can configure so-called admin units, but this is not a must-have. This is optional. It's again, it's also still in preview. So I skip this. And then this is the interesting topic. We can configure the Exchange location, a SharePoint site, or a OneDrive. Or we can say, no, we only need a SharePoint site, whatever is valid in your scenario. And also here you can see you have the chance to say you configure include or exclude policies here on this. So if you say there should be auto labeling available only for the team or the SharePoint site where the management is just working in, then definitely it makes sense to configure only the site that is just valid for you. If it's more a little bit from another perspective that you say every SharePoint site should get a label, expect, let's say, extranet or something like this, then exclude policies are a better way to set it up. Okay, so next step is you have also set up here a rule which says, okay, when should auto labeling be applied? Which means here we also come to the scenario we saw in the rule for Office documents. We have to say, what is the condition? And the condition, again, is focused on contains specific content or even the parameter if content is shared. So this is also interesting that you can say documents are uploaded to a document library, nothing happened at all. But if someone tries to share the document, automatically a label is applied, and the trigger is that someone tries to share this document. Let's say content contains, which is a similar, even from a UI perspective, we saw in the first demo. And again, we need to say, okay, based on a sensitive information type, like, for example, a credit card number. You can see here this. Or on the other perspective, we have the chance to say based on trainable classifier, which is also a feature in the Purview Center, where you can upload example content, let's say 50 contracts from your company, and then the system automatically detects what all of these 50 contracts have in common, and then you have a trainable classifier to use. Okay. And then if you just configure this, I just skip it here. The next step is to say, okay, which label should be applied automatically? And then you have auto labeling policy configured. I also cancel this and show you one of my existing policies and the interesting topic about simulation, what you see here. If you just create a new policy, per default, it is set up in simulation mode. And clicking on this, you can see what simulation mode means. Simulation mode means that I get an overview that if I turn on this policy, 5 files get a match, and these 5 files are then protected with the label I configured in the policy. So it's a chance to say, oh, sorry, there's a mistake. Not these 5 files. I've definitely meant something different, or whatever maybe the mistake is. And then you can manipulate the policy and can say, restart the simulation and see if then what you expect is just coming out here before you turn on the policy and maybe interrupt some productive processes. This is a summary, and also if you say items to review, you get the detailed list of which items are focused if you activate the policy. Okay, I saw that there is a question in the chat. We will come to the questions at the end of the session. Let me first finish the slides and the demos. Okay, with this, let's go back even to the slides. The auto-labeling feature in Microsoft Preview Center or in the Microsoft Compliance Center got also some limitations. As you can see here on this slide, it only covers specific file types, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and the interesting point here, as you can see, not PDF, which is normally also a really standard file type, but PDF is not covered by this auto-labeling feature. Interesting is that PDF is just covered if it is an attachment to an Exchange mail. So if you apply auto-labeling policy for Exchange Online, then PDF is respected, but not if the PDF is stored in SharePoint or OneDrive. All the details about this, I've put you the link here to the slides, and I'm really sure you will get the slides afterwards, and there are all the details described. So think about, you have this scenario that you say, okay, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, really nice to have, but definitely we need PDF, we need JPEGs, we need also other file types respected with our auto-labeling policies. Then Defender for Cloud Apps is your friend. So Defender for Cloud Apps, the renaming or the new name of what we know as Microsoft Cloud App Security. And also with this feature, we have the chance to set up auto-labeling. It works like described here. So auto-labeling using Defender for Cloud Apps can cover, as I already said, even other file types. And also here I got a link to the detailed description and to the details about the setup with Defender for Cloud Apps. Here's some high-level overview for you. First of all, we need to set up a file policy. And in the file policy, we can focus the policy to a specific storage location. So we can just focus this even to folders in a document library or to folders in a OneDrive. And then another capability is to set, I really will focus it not to a storage location, but to a specific user or group. And if you configured all this, you have the chance to say, okay, if this all is true, and then please apply a default label, let's say to SharePoint or a OneDrive location you've set up here in this scenario. I will show you also this in a demo. Yeah, let's go to this demo. So, okay. Back here on my demo environment, and as you can see here, I'm in Cloud App Security, or Defender for Cloud Apps, which is a new name since a couple of months. And within this, in the control panel, I have policies. And even from a default menu, you see there is just information protection area. And clicking on this, you see all policies which are focusing to information protection. Say, create a new policy. You see it's a file policy, which you set up here. Okay, you have to give it a name and so on. You can configure policy severity or a category. But the interesting topics are here a little bit at the lower level. You can say, okay, apply to all files or even to only files excluding folders or including folders. Clicking on selected folder. Then I get this add folder menu here, and then I get a list of folders where I have access to. And for example, I say, okay, to this folder, which is called Hans Müller, I want to apply automatic labels, which means every document that is stored in this folder then automatically get the label that I configured in the further setup here. And this is then done by, depending on where the storage location is, Microsoft SharePoint, or is it in OneDrive? And when I navigate to SharePoint, I can say, apply a sensitivity label. And even like I can here in this scenario, manually decide if existing label should be overwritten, yes or no, independent of the priority or of the label priority, which we have it in the default label for a SharePoint document library. So in detail, there are differences between the capabilities we have. Even here in this example, the question is existing label be overwritten, yes or no? It depends on what you configured here, and not on the overview I showed you in the slides, which are applying for if the default label is configured for a SharePoint document library. Okay, I've just canceled this and show you an already existing policy here in my environment. And this is this one. As you can see here, this is the name of the policy, and I even get the information that 9 matches are covered by this policy. Clicking on the policy, you again see here the details to be configured. And then the upper right corner, I have the few policy matches, and then I get a report which documents or which files are already matched and automatically get a label based on this policy. And with this, it's independent if it is an Office document or not. Even PDF, Visio files, whatever, are covered by this capability. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Yeah, so a little bit around up here. This is not part of an E5 license because of Defender for Cloud Apps, or this feature, formerly known as Cloud App Security, got a separate licensing model. It's part of M365 E5, or even you can license it separately. I also put in the link in here to the detailed licensing sheet by Microsoft. And even here, the Learn at Microsoft link, how this is configured and set up step by step, what I showed you here in my demo as an overview. Okay, there are 2 scenarios left. It's about protect and auto labeling further file types, like, for example, something which is definitely unsupported in some generic file formats, or a file format for an application you developed on your own. And of course, the chance to have this evil hack using PowerShell to do something similar to auto labeling. I will also show you or talk a little bit about this. So first of all, other or generic file types. One thing that is definitely actually not covered with any of the features I showed you until now is protecting video formats. So MP4 files, whatever, AVI files, are not supported by any auto-labeling capability I showed you until now. And one chance to do this is to do it manually with PowerShell, or even using the information protection client. This client is also able to protect any file type we have, but the limitation is that the information protection viewer isn't able to open any file type, which means if you use the information protection client or even PowerShell to protect the unsupported file type, then you first need to unprotect it before you can open it with a native client application. And then if you say, okay, I have some manipulations on this file, or I edited it, I have a new version, and then you manually again need to protect it using PowerShell or the information protection client. But at the end, from a high level perspective, we can, using these capabilities, protect every file you have on your system. Show you some demos about this. First of all, let's start with the information protection client. To show you this demo, I'm just sharing you my my complete desktop. Let's first open the right location that we can directly start into or dig into the demo. So, and then just sharing my screen. So as you can see here on my file system, I have just a document here, which is a protected JPEG file. And double-clicking on this protected JPEG file, what you can see that the Azure Information Protection Client is coming up and showing the JPEG file, which is just this picture. This is because of Azure Information Protection Client is supporting JPEG. Let me show you another example. It's this video file. It's an MP4 file, which is also protected. Double-clicking on this, also the client is popping up, and sorry that this is in German. My desktop is in German, but it says the file is protected and the information protection client isn't able to open this file because of an MP4 file isn't a supported file type. But if I continue, the file is just unprotected. And as you can see, the video is just starting here and is automatically played. So at the end, this is what I mean with every file type can be protected using the capabilities that Microsoft is offering us. And that brings me, let's just stop the sharing on this and go back to the capabilities we have with how can we automate the protection when we're using this manually way or even using PowerShell. A little bit from a time perspective, just don't go in deep into the demo we have with PowerShell, but at the end of the day, the way is the following. You can use PowerShell to automatically apply or to apply labels to files with a set file label and then just apply the label. This is supported for SharePoint on-prem environment or even for, let's say, file server or local stored files. And what you can do using, in addition, OneDrive is automatically, let's say, sync a document library from SharePoint Online to your file system, and then use the PowerShell command to apply a label. And if the label is applied, we have a change in this document, and this is recognized by OneDrive, and the new protected version is automatically synced back to SharePoint or to your OneDrive as part of Microsoft 365. So definitely, this is not what we know from a comfortable way of auto-labeling, and this is also not what Microsoft meant when they're talking about auto-labeling. But in the end, from a user perspective, a label is applied automatically, or let's say based on a setup of different features. And so the label is automatically applied to the file, and the user didn't have to do it manually. So from a high-level perspective, also this can be named as a kind of auto-labeling. And the really big plus, it supports any kind of file, even MP4 files or whatever type of files, which are not supported by the auto-labeling capability in Purview or with Defender for Cloud Apps. So the last topic, and then we can talk about the questions in the chat, is the programmatic way to assign sensitivity labels to files. And there was an announcement at last year Ignite, which is just promoting this programmatic way to assign sensitivity labels to files. So you can use the API to do this. And even with this, you can use these API calls to implement your own business process, or let's say implement it in some Power Apps or whatever solutions you've developed on your own and say, okay, if I click this button, every file which is just stored on this file location or wherever automatically get a label based on whatever you set up in your solution. To give you an idea how this looks like, this is the way it works from a programmatic way. And I've also put in the learning link with all the details about this capability and how to use it. Oh, there's really a last point before we start the Q&A. It's about use the scanner to automatically apply labels. Scanner is something we know also from Azure Information Protection. It's the scanner, there's no UI available. The scanner is just administered by PowerShell. And as you can see here in these two screenshots, we have different ways to use the scanner, which means we can configure if the scanner should apply label, should override existing labels, or if the scanner should only do a report. These are all the detailed settings you can see here in the screenshots. Even I can exclude or include specific file types for the scanner. And then you can use, or you need to use PowerShell to start a scan depending on the repository you've configured. So for example, here, a local path on my file system, or even a path or a location on the file server, or the SharePoint versions are showed on the first screen. And at the end, you can also get a report about what the scanner did. So this is also an example. This report is just looking like this. So you see, okay, where is the file located and what is the comment? So for example, a label is already applied, or the scanner applied a label, yes or no. So you get an overview of what's going on there. Meanwhile, we also have the chance to use the scanner as part of Microsoft Purview Center. It looks like this. So you have to navigate to the settings section. And then in the settings section, we have the sensitive information scanner, and we can configure and use it from there. With this, I switched to the last demo, and then definitely we have the chance to see what questions are posted in the chat. But first, this last demo. So back here in my demo environment, and again in the Microsoft Purview Center, when I click to the settings here, you get the information protection scanner node. And then you get an overview about the scanner. You can see I've got configuration for one cluster. This is how it named. So the cluster means if I click here on add, I only give it a name. It's just only a kind of category about the different information protection scanner instances I can configure. And of course, here I have so-called nodes, which means I have a couple of nodes which can be also used in parallel to use this scanner. And the interesting thing is the content scan shops. And if I just click on this, I can see all the demo settings about this. So if a label should be applied, if it should be applied based on content which is detected, which labels should be applied. So at the end, it's really similar to the auto labeling capabilities we have in the Purview Center or even in Defender for Cloud Apps, but now based on a scanner which needs to be manually kicked and manually run over the locations you've configured. So for example, file servers, SharePoint on-prem servers, or local computers. Okay. With this, that was the last slide. Let's share. Let me share again the deck. Because of there is the thank you for all our sponsors. I didn't mention until now. So definitely these sponsors make events like this happen. So thanks also from my perspective. And then I go one slide back and we have the Q&A, and let's see which questions are posted in the chat. So we have a question about some so I'll just read what is posted. Some specific license is needed to configure the auto labeling and the MIP scanner. Yes, although the scanner needs specific licenses, it's also only 5 licenses. And then the next question is, auto labeling is not supported for all Office 365 products, OneDrive, Power BI. Is there any ETA for auto labeling to cover Power BI? Power BI is actually not covered by the features I've showed you. You can apply labels manually to Power BI. And the last entrance here is not a question. It's just a reminder that only 5 minutes left. Okay, but definitely we have 2 minutes left, which means open mic. If you have further question, then just open your mic and just talk to me. Okay, it seems like there are no other questions. If you just have questions, let's say after the conference or in the next couple of days, just send me a mail, contact me on LinkedIn, and then we can just discuss or see how I can help you. If not, I definitely wish you an interesting rest of the conference. Thank you for attending my sessions and have a good time.
Oh, thank you, Nicki. Actually, I have a question. I don't know if you have time.
Yes, definitely.
I understood we don't have a cover for Power BI, but you know that I don't know if we have an expectation for having this covered for Power BI at some point.
To be true, okay, I see my information wasn't right. Actually, there is just a learning link which says how to apply sensitive labels in Power BI automatically. I've Googled it right now. I've posted a link here in the chat, and I hope this can answer
great.
all the questions about Power BI and auto labeling.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nicki. It was a very nice explanation. Thanks a lot. So our next session is on graph notification. a better way to process M365 audit logs. So it is presented by Nandip and Smita. I hope Nandip, Smita, you joined.
Hey, hi
Hello.
Rohit.
Hi. So Nandip is Microsoft MVP. He's multiple author of books. And second, Smita. Smita is SharePoint professional with 14 plus years of experience, and she's also MVP, MCT, author, speaker, organizer. So yeah, I hand over to you, Nandip, Smita.
Hi. Hopefully you are able to see my screen as well.
Ye-
Just give me one moment. I'm just readjusting. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
All
visible.
right. Okay. So we
Thank
are
you.
good to start. Good to start, or having any break now?
Um, I think we